everyone. Welcome to our practice today. You can start by setting yourself up with some props if you know that you would need them. So 2 blocks are great to use for balancing poses and any sort of stretches. And then just some cushioning like a blanket or a soft pillow for underneath the knees or in your shavasana at the end. None of these are required, just helpful to have if you know you would like them. And we'll begin just with some nice breathing in a seated position. I'm taking lightning bolt pose, so sitting back on the heels. You can take a cross-legged seat if you prefer. And just arrive on your mat. You can close the eyes down, tune in. Allowing the breath to guide you, to be the focal point of your awareness. And the theme of our practice today, I invite you to adopt, is to tune into the sense of listening. So we're often so caught up in responding or reacting to life, to feeling like we need to do things, fix things, understand. It's a constant tug, either away from our experience or towards a different experience. So I invite you to instead just rest in the moment and notice the sense of you that is just listening, just receiving the moment. With that, we'll bring the hands together at the heart. And you can join me or stay silently as we begin our practice with one collective Om. Take a deep breath in. Can flutter the eyes open and make your way to the top of the mat standing. Hips about, feet about hips width distance. You can bring even weight between the toes and the heels, finding energy lifting through the arches of the feet, so pressing through the big toe mounds, feeling that energy activate all the way up through the legs. Pressing through the heels, you'll feel the muscles engage of your glutes. Shoulders are down on the back, planted firmly, and the palms face forward. Finding your Tadasana mountain shape and noticing that natural S-curve of your spine with the shoulders over the hips. Hug the belly back, engaging that Uddiyana Bandha. And lifting through the pelvic floor, turning on that anti-gravity force on the lower pelvis. Like you're sipping up air through a straw that begins at the base of your spine. Reach the arms up overhead, you can look up. And grab the right wrist with the left hand, side bend to the left, keeping both feet planted firmly on the mat. Side body stretch. Coming back through to center, grabbing the opposite wrist and leaning over to the right as you make space in the left side body. back through to center. Bring the hands interlaced behind either the lower portion of your head or the neck, and reach the elbows out wide. Lift the chin towards the sky. You can allow the tailbone to kind of flare out, just getting a nice open shape through the upper chest. And then begin to bring the elbows together towards one another and begin to round through the neck, upper spine, as you roll yourself down vertebrae by vertebrae. You can bend through the knees as you come all the way compact into a little ball at the top of the mat. Heels can be lifted. And then heels plant. Begin to straighten through the legs and slowly, with weight in the heels, vertebrae by vertebrae, roll yourself up. And once again, open the elbows wide, lift the chest high towards the sky. Take a deep breath in, and then come back to a neutral spine, arms release. Once again, reach the arms overhead. Side stretch to the left, grabbing the right wrist, keeping both hips square to the front of the mat. Back through to center, grab the left wrist, reach over to the right side. Coming back through to center, bring the hands behind the head, elbows wide, look up, breathe. Exhale, start closing the elbows in, compacting and rolling yourself down, rounding through the spine. And then slowly pressing yourself back up, curling up, open the chest out wide, look up. Exhale, neutral spine, arms release. Take a few grounding breaths. And once again, reach the arms up overhead, palms touch. And then swan dive over the legs, forward fold. This is our first forward fold, so take a nice generous bend through the knees. You can sway left and right, maybe grab opposite elbows. And then come back through to center. We're coming into a halfway lift, so the palms are underneath the shoulders out in front of you, or they can come to the shins or the thighs, wherever you can maintain that straight spine. Fold once again. And then plant both palms flat. You can have a generous bend in the knees and step the right foot back for a low runner's lunge. You can sway a little bit forward and back to get some heat into that left hip joint. And then keep the right hand planted. Lift the left arm up for twisted lunge. Pressing back with the right heel, energy through all of the limbs. And then bring the left hand down, step the left foot back to meet the right for plank pose. Always an option to bring the knees down. Hold here. And then we'll lower all the way to the belly, so hinging forward on the toes, hug the elbows into the side and slowly lower. You can walk the hands back so that they're at the low ribs. Squeeze the shoulder blades and the elbows together. Squeeze the glutes and lift the chest high for a low cobra. Lowering back down. Walking the hands a bit further back and then coming up higher this time for a high cobra. Lowering down to the mat. And now you can walk the hands a bit forward. We'll come into an upward facing dog. So pressing through the hands, reaching the heart up, lifting the hips off the mat, and pressing through the big toes. Quads are firmed up. And then you can tuck the toes under, leading with the tailbone Hips go up and back for downward facing dog. Pedaling through the feet, bending through one knee and then the other. Pressing through each finger pad, slowly shining the elbow creases forward, activating them towards one another to create a healthy, stable turning on of that serratus muscle. That's your back muscle. So keeping a nice stability to the upper body, hugging the belly button back, knitting the top rib cage in. And then rolling forward to plank, pressing through the hands, hugging that low belly in. Holding here, you can always bring the knees down. And then hips go up and back again for downward facing dog. Lift the left leg behind you for three-legged dog. Keep the hips square. Toes point down. Even distribution of weight through the hands, and then bend the knee, open up that hip so that the left hip is pointing towards the left side of the mat. You could take a few circles with the knee here, really feeling that opening and engagement through the left side glute. And then square the hips. Bend the knee, bring the knee towards the nose as you roll forward to plank, and then plant that left foot in between the hands, coming into low lunge once again. And then stepping forward with the right foot, you might meet in a warrior three briefly, meeting the left in forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift your way. Exhale, fold. Weight in the heels, bend in the knees, rise up, upward salute, arms overhead, and hands come through heart center. Exhale. Taking this on the other side, upward salute. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step the right foot back into a low runner's lunge. We'll step the left foot back, opposite side. Can rock with it a little bit. Pressing weight through both heels. And then reach the right arm up towards the sky, peeling the chest open for a twisted lunge. Can bring the right hand down, step the right foot back, coming into plank. This time you can lower to the belly or halfway for chaturanga, so hinging forward on the toes, hugging the belly button in, and bending through the elbows, hugging them in. Heart shines forward, shoulders squeeze back for upward facing dog or low cobra. And then rolling over the toes, leading with the hips for downward facing dog. Sigh it out. So that's our Vinyasa, our Sun A, and feel free to take those modifications. Listen to what the moment, the wisdom of your body is offering. Instead of doing and fixing, we're simply listening and receiving. So come high onto the toes, either step or hop your way to the top of the mat. Halfway lift, inhale, exhale, fold. Rise high, greet the sun. Exhale, arms release. Staying in motion, upward salute. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift, inhale. Step or hop back, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Downward facing dog. Exhale. Pedaling it out through the feet. And then take a slow tiptoe walk to the top. So staying for as long as you can on your tiptoes, palms stay flat. You can even come onto the fingertips if you need, tiptoeing each way, and then flattening the feet down and folding over the legs. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend the knees, sink back into the heels, reach your arms up for chair pose. Hugging the belly in, really strong through each fingertip. If you look down, you should be able to see the toes and even give them a little wiggle. And then straighten through the legs, arms released by your sides. Inhale, reach the arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, step or hop back, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, inhale. Downward facing dog, exhale. Right leg sweeps high. Step the foot in between the hands, ground the back heel, toes point out 45 degrees. Rise up, warrior one. Square the hips to the front of the mat, tuck the tailbone so that it's flat towards the ground. And then frame the front foot, step it back for plank, lowering your way. Heart opener, reaching towards the sky. And roll over the toes, downward facing dog. Left leg sweeps high. Bend the knees, step the foot between the hands. Back heel grounds. Rise up, warrior one. Bring the hands to the hips, square them to the front of the mat. Hug the belly in, lift up through the chest, warrior one. Frame the front foot, step it back to meet the right. Lowering your way through chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Downward facing dog, side out. Set the knees down, splay them wide, and sink the hips back in between the heels for a child's pose. Actively spreading the fingers wide and reaching through the arms. And then come press up, coming through a tabletop, and then tucking the toes under, lifting the hips back for downward facing dog. Taking any movements that might serve you here. Maybe sway the hips. Maybe bend the knees. And then come high onto the balls of the feet and either step or hop to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, sit back, reach up, chair pose. Just a single breath here. Straighten the legs, arms release, Tadasana. Take a few rounds of breath. And then we'll get into our standing sequence here. So bringing the feet, hips with distance apart. Begin to bring weight into the right foot as you lift the left knee up out in front of you so that it's at a 90-degree angle. You can really just bring your hands to your hips and notice if either the left hip began to sink, causing a little bit of unevenness, and just correct that by engaging through those side glute muscles and pressing through each toe. You can hold here. If you want more, you can bring the right hand to that left kneecap or a little bit to the outside and begin to twist through that lumbar spine, so through the core, not through the hips, so the hips stay square, and reach that left arm back. If you want more, you can extend the left leg long, grab for the outer edge of the foot. Looking back towards the fingers. And then if you have the leg straightened, you can bend it, and we'll all begin to step back with the left foot. So tilting forward as the right foot is planted, we're gonna land in warrior two. So opening through that hip, land the back foot so that it's parallel with the short edge of the mat. And then keep the hips open and the chest facing the side. As the arms come out wide, gaze goes over the front middle finger, and bend deeply into the right leg. Then you can straighten through the front right leg, heel toe in a bit with the back foot, and we'll lean forward, leading with the right hand as the torso comes forward. And when you can't go anymore, come down with the arm into Trikonasana, triangle. So right fingertips can either come to the shin, the foot, or the floor behind the leg. You can also have a block here. But wherever your arm lands, the purpose here is to expand in every direction. So the goal isn't to get far down towards the mat, but really to open up through the chest and feel expansive. And then circle down with the left hand so that it's framing that front foot. Walk the back foot in just a bit so that there's about 2 to 3 feet between your feet. The foot can slightly point outwards. Both heels are planted. Hips are square towards the front of the mat. So you might need to just slowly bring that right hip back just a bit. And then you can fold over the front leg for pyramid, hugging back through the core. Maybe you walk the fingertips back towards that left foot, or maybe you walk them forward. Whatever is calling to you. And then this is a great place to stay, or if you want a little something else, you can begin to walk your torso towards the right. Left hand can plant outside the right foot as you reach the right arm towards the sky for twisting triangle. If the hand doesn't make it to the outside of the right foot, it can always be in front. You'll still get a nice twist. Hugging back through that right hip, squeezing the inner thighs together, looking towards the sky. It's okay if you fall out. And then we'll all come back through pyramid, hips square to the front of the mat, and we'll launch off onto this right foot, coming into a balance pose. So the left leg reaches up, we're coming into airplane, or warrior three. So right leg is straight, left leg is straight out behind, hands come through the chest, hips are square, hugging the belly button back, even weight through the torso and the leg. And then begin to straighten out, planting that left foot next to the right, and hands released by your side. Let's clear that out with a vinyasa. So reaching overhead, up salute, diving down, forward fold. Halfway left, lift, inhale. Step or hop back, making your way down through chaturanga or to the belly. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing dog, sigh it out. Always an option to skip the vinyasas as well or take rest as you need it. Next inhale, we'll make our way to the top of the mat. Halfway lift, fold, rise, arms release. Bringing feet to hips with distance. This time we'll bring weight into the left foot, reach the right knee up at a 90-degree angle. So really lifting through the inner arch of the foot, pressing down through the through all of the toes and the heel to engage those glutes. You can bring the left hand to the outside of the right knee as you peel the chest open towards the right and twist towards the back of the mat. If you want more, you can grab for the outer edge of the foot, extend the leg forward, hugging the belly in and lifting up through Mula Bandha, that pelvic floor. And notice how that lifts you up even through the chest and the crown. So now we have this slow transition here to Warrior Two. Can begin to bend through the left leg as you release your right leg, and it's slowly, as slow as you can with control, stepping it back. The arms go out wide, planting that foot. Maybe you readjust so that the inner arch of the back foot is aligned with the heel of the front. Open up the hips towards the side. Arms come up, relax the shoulders down. And tuck that right hip underneath just a little bit more so that you're nice and parallel. You're not leaning forward or back. Nice and stable and square, shoulders over the hips. And then you can straighten through the left leg, heel toe the back foot in a few inches. And then begin to hinge forward, so keeping the hips stable as the shoulders come, torso goes forward until the left arm reaches down, right arm reaches up, and the chest is broad and open towards the sky. So using the press and the weight into your feet to lift you up through your torso. Maybe even the bottom arm hovers a bit, using the strength of your core. Gaze can be towards the sky, or if that's straining on the neck, you can always look down. And then rolling that right hand down, both hands are framing the front foot. You step the back foot in just a bit so that the hips are square. Toes are pointed slightly out, so towards that top right corner of your mat. And then you can fold over the legs. Try not to lock out the knee here, so keeping just a little micro bend in the left knee is helpful to protect that joint. And then pressing back through the right heel will really activate that right glute and give you some stability in the shape. So you can even lift both the hands up and you'll see you should not move because all of your stability is coming through the activation of those muscles in each of your joints. The ankles, the hips, the knees. And then if you want some more, you can begin to walk your hands towards the left. The right hand can plant outside of the left foot. If that isn't working for you, you can keep the right hand to the inside of the foot and can still open up towards the side, lifting the left arm or twisted triangle. And then rolling that left hand down to frame the front foot. We're coming back into our warrior 3. So bringing weight into the left foot. Right foot reaches back behind. A flat torso. And the right foot presses back. You can flex through the foot. Press through the back heel. Hug the belly in. We're like a T shape here. 2 more breaths. And begin to slowly tip up. Right foot meets the left. And the arms will release down by the sides, Tadasana. So now you can walk the feet out wider than hips width distance. The toes point outwards about 45 degrees. Heels point in. We're about mat width distance. And just begin bending slowly through one leg and then the other, swaying side to side. And we'll begin to lower slowly. So as you're lowering, coming down into Malasana, if you know this is a little much for your hips, you can grab a block until you gently settle down. Keeping the spine nice and long, lifting up through Mula Bandha. Hands come through the heart. And you can still keep that sway. So coming, maybe you lift one heel up and then the other. Maybe you rock forward and back a little. Just finding your own movement. And if this hurts your knees or your hips, you can allow your tail to come down and just take a seated squat like this. And then we'll all dive over the legs, straightening them, and then sway the hips side to side, forward folding. So you can take another Malasana if you'd like. I'll invite you into crow pose. So bringing the feet about hips width distance, right behind the hands. So the hands will stay flat. You can bend the knees here. And then try to get the knees as high onto the upper arms as you can. So they're hugging right now. So the upper tricep is completely glued to the shins. The kneecaps are as high as you can towards those shoulder sockets. And just begin to play with bringing weight forward and back into the hands. Maybe this is where you stay today. Maybe you lift one foot and you just see how that feels. Lifting the other. This is how we build strength, really hugging in through the core. If you want to play, come high onto the balls of the feet. Bring weight forward. Hug one heel in. Hug the other heel in. And hold it. And you can shoot back the chaturanga. Coming up for an upward dog. Wherever you are, you can take your vinyasa and we'll all meet back in downward facing dog. Again, if you would like rest in child's pose here, feel free to take it. Three rounds of soothing breath. Reach the right leg high. Bend the knee, stack the hip. And then square the hip off. Maybe you keep the leg straight as you step the foot between the hands, coming once again into a low lunge. And then straightening the front leg, rounding the back heel, and then moving so that both feet are parallel to the short edge of the mat, coming into a wide-legged forward fold. You could stand up for a moment. Have a nice micro bend in both knees. Interlace the hands behind the back. Squeeze the shoulder blades, lift the chest, and then fold over the legs, allowing the torso to splay wide, squeezing the shoulder blades together. So trying to keep the shoulder joints active, and you do this by keeping the palms close together, not allowing it to just kind of fall, but really keeping them squeezed into your active range. If you know the headstand is in your practice and you'd like to take an inversion today, this is a great place to. So you can put the head down, plant the hands down so that you're making an L shape with the hands, and then allow the feet to come off the mat as you lift through both legs. And then lowering slowly as you come in. Coming up to a halfway lift, hugging through the belly, and then bringing the hands to the waist, pressing through the heels, reaching the elbows back, heart opens towards the sky, and then arms release. Bringing the feet so that the right foot is facing the front of the mat, the left heel lifts up, coming into a high lunge just briefly. And then rolling the hands down to low lunge. Plant the left hand, reach the right foot back to stack on the left for side plank. You can drop the left knee down for a supported version. Or you can take this version, reach the right arm towards the sky, look up. Also, you can take any other variation, so reaching the right foot high, maybe you grab a toe. And then wherever you are, reach the right leg up high, bend the knee, and step the foot behind you as you lift the hips up, coming into wild thing. So reaching back with the right hand. Chest points high, one more breath. And then bring the right hand down, right foot plants. We're in a plank position. And then bring the right knee close in towards the chest, hug it in, and then extend that right leg past the left wrist, plant the right, the left heel down, so the back heel, and then reach those hips towards the sky for fallen triangle. Left hand is up and back, squeezing through the hips. And then bring the left hand down, hug the right knee in towards the chest, and then reach the right leg up and back behind for three-legged dog. You can set the right foot down or come through Vinyasa three-legged style. So keeping that left leg lifted, bringing it back down for upward facing, and hips go up and back for downward facing dog. Reach the left leg high, bend the knees, stack the hip, open it up here. Really press through both hands. Maybe you look over the right shoulder and see your toes. And then bring it forward, step the left foot in between the hands, ground the back heel, and then pivot over, walking the hands towards the right, coming into a wide-legged fold. And then begin bending through one knee and then the other, just slowly rocking the hips. So we will be making our way into side squats. You know that's a little hard for the knee, so you can stay here and just slowly bend upright. Otherwise, you might walk the feet out a little wider, and then slowly bending to the left leg. The right toes reach up, hands come towards the chest. Breathing or extending the arms out long. And then if you want to try to move to the other side without using the hands, you can plant the left foot down, the left toes, pressing through both feet, coming up, and then squatting through the right foot, the right knee, and the left toes point upwards. Hugging up through Mula Bandha, through the crown. Maybe you extend the arms out long. And then bring them back to center. Coming back, taking a few more bends, whatever you're needing now. Maybe you just take your forward fold. Maybe use the hands to walk side to side before we all walk ourselves back to the top of the mat to frame the foot. And then we'll rise up high for a brief standing lunge. And then framing the right foot, step the left foot to meet the right for a side plank on the opposite side. So any of those modifications are there for you. Three breaths, lifting through the hips. Losing any sense of urgency and just listening, being receptive. And then we'll all lift that left leg up, step it behind to reach the hips up, and the arm reaches back for wild thing, squeezing through the glutes to protect the low back. Finding your opening here. Maybe take a few circles with the arm before we all circle around. The left hand comes down, left knee comes into the chest, hug it very much tightly in, and then bring the left knee towards the right wrist and extend that leg long past the right wrist as you reach the right arm towards the thigh. Hips go up, forward fallen triangle. Right hand comes down, left knee hugs into the chest, tuck the right toes under, lift the left leg high for three-legged dog. And then roll it forward to plank. Maybe you keep the left leg lifted, maybe you lower it for a three-legged flow. Upward facing dog or cobra, heart shining. Downward facing dog. Side out. Long, slow breaths to slow the heart rate down a bit. And then we'll make our way onto our back, so you can either set the knees down and just lower, or I invite you to a jump through. So bringing the hands a little bit wider than they would be, so about max width distance. Come high onto the toes, bend the knees. Hop through your hands to sit on your thumb. So then with the legs out long, we'll bend the right knee and the left foot will stamp on the outside of that right knee. So we're coming into Ardha Matsyendrasana, which is a nice twist. So you can hug the left arm around that leg as the right arm reaches back behind you, opening through the shoulder. maybe the elbow hooks. Either way, hugging the core back. And then rolling back through the center. Allow the left knee to open. The left knee to fall down so that the knees are stacked, coming into Gomukhasana. If this is a lot and your knees aren't coming down or the seat is lifted, then you can bring some cushioning to raise yourself up, and that often helps. Otherwise, you can take half Gomukhasana, so extending the right leg long, and the left knee comes over. You'll still get a good outer hip opening. So this might be enough. You can stay upright. If you're looking for a little more, you can start to gently fold forward, walking the hands over the legs. And then walking yourself back up through center, we'll all extend the right leg long. So you can either bring this foot into the inner hip crease for half lotus, or you can bring the left inner foot to the inner thigh for Janu Shirshasana, or you can also take half figure four, so bringing the heel or the ankle onto the right above that right knee. Any one of those variations depends on what you're looking for, a deeper stretch or more of a softening, soft stretch. And then we'll just remove a little bit of the flesh underneath our seat. Flex firmly through the right toes, hugging through the belly to keep a long spine as you slowly fold forward over that right leg. Walking yourself back up. Now we'll plant the right foot on the mat, so bending the knee, and then bringing that left ankle over the right knee, coming into a figure four shape, and then you can slowly walk yourself back onto your back, tailbone tucked slightly underneath. And then you can lift the right foot off the mat, bringing both legs closer, grab for underneath the thigh or the top of the shin, flexing both feet and hugging the legs towards you. And now you can plant the right foot back down on the mat, and we'll let both knees fall over to the right, so coming into a twist, and that right knee is going to keep that left leg planted. If you don't like the twist with the knees on top of each other, you can stack them one over the other at a 90-degree angle for a little bit of a simpler twist. Keeping both shoulders planted, you can goal post the arms for a nice chest opening and look over to the left. You can bring the knees back up to center. Plant both feet on the mat now. And using some momentum, bring the feet behind your head and rock and roll the length of your spine a few times. We're going to land in boat pose, so using the strength of our core to stop ourselves in the air, feet are out in front, parallel to the ground, palms face up, hug the core in, rounded on the edge of our sitting bones, maybe reach the feet high. Shoulders back and down. Take 5 breaths here. Last breath, hug it in. And then slowly lower the feet so that both feet are planted. This time you can bring the left knee down so that the right knee is close to your sitting bone. Plant the right foot to the, wrong way. The right shin will plant down. Left foot plants to the outside of the right hand. Using the right hand will hug the left knee as you twist towards the left. Left hand, you can either be on the fingertips or flat down. And maybe the right elbow hooks. And facing forward, allow the right feet to come out wide as the knees stack. You can lift the hips up to readjust. So feet should be in about an even plane, so not having one foot in front as one is back. Should be about even with one another. Again, you can readjust the hips. Give yourself some height if you need, or take that modified version. And fold if that's what's calling to you. Walking the hands back up. Extend the right leg. Extend the left leg long. The right knee points down as you bring the right foot either to the inner hip crease for half lotus. I don't know if this is what half lotus looks like. You can bring the inner foot to the inner thigh for Janu Shirshasana, or you can take figure 4 seated with the right ankle on top of the left thigh, and we'll fold. So softening into the moment, seeing dropping any form of interference or pushing, pulling, or just allowing everything to be as it is. can walk yourself up. Plant the left foot down on the mat. As you plant your sacrum down, lower it all the way to the back. Hug that left knee in towards the chest. Coming into figure four on the back. And then planting the left foot down, you can allow the right knee to cross over the left and then allow both knees to fall towards the left. If you don't like this variation, take any variation of a twist that would feel good in your body and extend both arms and look towards the right. Bring the knees back through center, uncross the legs, extend them out long. Give a little shake through the knees, sway the feet left and right. Give yourself a final stretch so the arms come overhead. Maybe reach to the left and the right, allowing everything to take up space, really just opening through all the limbs. And then releasing your arms by your side, setting yourself up in our final resting pose. Take whatever you need, a blanket, any blocks, and fully surrender, feeling the body dissolve into the surface below you, melting any sense of separation. Shavasana. Shifting your attention back to the breath, to any sensations in the body. I invite you to extend your Shavasana. You can stay in your stillness or Bring some movement in and roll off to your right side into a fetal position. Pressing yourself up to an easy seat. Keeping the eyes closed down. Bringing the hands to the chest. Bringing this state of active listening to the rest of your day, your week, the next moments. Being receptive to what it is that is listening. What is it that listens within us? You can bring your hands to your third eye. Together we bow. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today, yogis.